Hi everybody, a little bit skeptical here. I'm doing this unscripted, so we'll see how this goes. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I haven't seen a lot as such on YouTube as far as what's exploding on Twitter right now. My Twitter feed is full of talk about this, and I thought maybe I should address it briefly. I wasn't going to make a video today, but then I thought I should say something about this because this is a big deal in politics right now in the U.S. election. So, my Twitter feed is all about the National Enquirer story about Ted Cruz cheating on Heidi Cruz with 5 different women, a couple of which work in politics. So, the National Enquirer is not necessarily known for being the most trustworthy of publications. In fact, I've never seen a National Enquirer outside of a grocery store checkout line, and I've never seen a story on a National Enquirer that I, A, necessarily cared about, and B, thought could even remotely be true. But from what I've heard, and I couldn't find anything on the internet in the quick search that I did about this, the author of this story about Ted Cruz, but I have heard through some people on Twitter that he won a Pulitzer Prize for breaking another story about politicians. So clear that up for me if you can in the comments. Let me know what you know about that. I don't know anything about that, and I have no proof of that. But as far as Ted Cruz is concerned, so this story, this is not the full story. The full story is magazine only. You can't look at their stories on the internet, which I think is really stupid, personally, because, I mean, okay, so they want you to pay for their magazine, but I think it's really dumb because I'd like to see the real story, and I'm not going to go to the grocery store today to buy it. So, but they're talking about Ted Cruz. Private detectives are digging into at least 5 affairs that he's supposedly had, attempts to destroy what's left of his White House campaign, blah, blah, blah. And then Gawker has a story about it as well. It's pretty much the same thing. The story, they quote the website, the actual story, which is not online, but which Gawker has obtained a copy of, apparently. An intern at Gawker went to the grocery store and bought it. Doesn't name any of the women. And I do have a picture of the article that someone took. Obviously, you can see grocery shopping cart here. Like, seriously, they only sell it in grocery stores. I don't really, it doesn't scream trustworthy to me, but maybe it's just me. But yeah, so here's the story, and as you can see, they don't out any of the women, but they don't really try very hard to protect the women either, and that's sort of where my issue arises. It's not necessarily that they're trying to either fabricate an issue and make a claim to sort of debase Ted Cruz and his, I guess, squeaky clean reputation. We all know that a similar thing happened to Rubio, not necessarily in a publication, but there were the rumors about Rubio being gay, and now he's dropped out, and now they're going after Cruz. But my issue is not that they're going after Cruz or that Cruz doesn't necessarily deserve this. Like, when you run to be president, you have to expect that every single little tiny itty bitty thing that you've ever done in your life is going to come out, and you have to be ready for that, and you have to have a response to that, like, immediately. And Ted Cruz has to be aware of that, and I'm sure Heidi Cruz is too. As we all know, she's works on Wall Street. She is a very powerful woman, and she, I'm sure, had a hand in sort of motivating Ted Cruz to do this, to run for president. And I'm sure that she was well aware of, that things were going to come out. My problem is the 5 women that are accused of having affairs with Ted Cruz, for whatever reason, are not protected in this article. I've already seen at least 3 of them have been exposed, and I think the middle 2. So I think the one on the far right and second from the right, and then the one on the far left. Those 3 have been identified, and I'm not going to show that here because I have an issue with that, The two in the middle here, the one in the blue shirt and the one in the black top, have not been identified as far as I know at this point in time. That doesn't mean that they won't. My problem is that these women, when they slept with him for whatever reason, knew that they were doing something wrong, I'm sure. But they never probably expected it to come to this, right? You do something bad in your life for whatever reason, you never expect it to be talked about on CNN. So this happened. I saw this earlier, and I don't know exactly when it happened on CNN. I'm assuming it was sometime this morning. So what you're seeing here, before I play it, Kate Bolduan was hosting a segment on the feud between Trump and Ted Cruz, and she was talking to Adriana Cohen and Amanda Carpenter. So you'll see both of them on here. This is what happened. This is the first mention of this National Enquirer thing on a major news media outlet.
Adriana, are you ready for Trump to move on from this feud?
Oh, absolutely. I think we should move on. Where we should move to is the National Enquirer story that has reported that Ted Cruz has allegedly had affairs with at least 5 mistresses, including you've been named, Amanda.
I'm sorry, I don't think that's moving on at all, Adriana.
No, well, I'd like to know, if we're going to call Donald Trump's character into question, I would like Ted Cruz to issue a statement whether or not the National Enquirer story is true, that he has had affairs with many women, including you were named, Amanda. Will you denounce this story, or will you confirm it?
So, first of all, okay, she's right in one of these points. She's saying if we're going to call out Donald Trump on every little thing he does, we're going to call his character into question consistently, then we need to do the same for Ted Cruz. It's important that we treat them the same, we vet them in the same way. That's absolutely right. And if we're going to bring up dirty stuff about Donald Trump's wife in our advertising, even if it was a super PAC, and I'm not going to get into that issue, I have issues with that as well. If we're going to do that, then we need to do the same for Ted Cruz. Like, we need to investigate if we're going to investigate all of Donald Trump's life, then we need to do the same for Ted Cruz. She's correct there. However, where she's incorrect, the National Enquirer, did not out Amanda. They did not say any names in their article, and they blurred out faces. So they never actually called her out and said that she was one of the people. That was done by the internet. The internet is really good at, when you give them a blurry picture of someone and maybe a couple of details, they will find out who that person is. There are people that just sit at home and do that. That's where my issue sort of begins, is that there were people that were going to figure out who these women were, and then this is going to happen. So, like, Amanda didn't expect for this to come up. She probably already knew about the article. Whether or not she actually slept with Ted Cruz or whatever, she knew about the article. She probably saw that picture and was like, that looks a lot like a picture of me with a face blurry. Like, now I have to come up with a response for this. So here's her response to that.
All right, let me step in really quick. Amanda, I will give you a second let me just be very clear. It will come as no surprise to our viewers. CNN has no reporting on what you're talking about coming from the National Enquirer. Amanda, go ahead.
I mean, what's out there is tabloid trash. If someone wants to comment on it, they can talk to my lawyer. It is categorically false. You should be ashamed for spreading this kind of smut. Donald Trump supporters should be held to account for it. And I will not be intimidated. I will continue to get my thoughts known about Donald Trump, and I am not backing down.
Hey guys, let me just do this, because I've spent now 2 shows talking about this back and forth. You're right. Let me do this. I'm going to be much more comfortable talking about a National Enquirer report when CNN has done some reporting on that topic. Let's do this. Let's move.
So, Kate was right. Like, I will also be more comfortable with coming to a firm decision on whether or not this happened when I've seen it from a more reliable news source. But as far as all of this is concerned, I actually really feel for Amanda and for the other women who were accused of this. And she's right in saying you can talk to my lawyer, because that's the smartest thing to do, is to say, I'm not going to say anything about this because I could potentially damage Ted Cruz's campaign further, and B, I could damage my own image. She works in journalism and works in the media and works in politics, and so it's really important that she has a good image, and so she's doing the smart thing by saying you can talk to my lawyer. But I really feel for these women. I feel bad for them. No, I don't feel bad for Ted Cruz. This is something that happens when you go into politics, but none of these women signed up for this, and yeah, maybe they did something wrong. I don't know if they deserve to potentially have their careers or lives ruined, their own personal relationships, things like that. But now that the National Enquirer has broken this potential story, I think it's the duty of the media to follow it through and prove it or disprove it. So I think I will expect to see something from CNN, from Fox News, from all the major news outlets, something about it. If I do not see anything from any of those places, then I will assume that the story is true and that they're covering it up because Ted Cruz is the establishment guy. He is the one that the major media outlets want to get the nomination. And so obviously they're going to protect him. So if they don't say anything about it, then I'm going to assume A, that it's true, and B, that they're protecting him by not speaking about it. And I hope that more people, Trump supporters, whoever, get up on there and keep bringing it up until someone says, you know what, fine, we'll vet this story and we'll figure out if it's true or not. Because I think that now that it's been broken to the public, it's the media's duty to prove it or disprove it. So tell me what you think in the comments. Let me know, like and subscribe, do all those fun things. I hope this off-the-cuff, unscripted video was not too long and not too boring. So I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.